The rain fell hard that evening, thick, cold sheets slapping against the marble windows of the mansion. Inside, laughter echoed from the grand dining hall, silver spoons clinking against porcelain plates. But Daniel, the quiet owner of the house, wasn't listening. His eyes were fixed on the backyard, where the maid sat under a broken umbrella, eating her meal alone. She was drenched. Her thin uniform clung to her skin, and her hands trembled as she lifted the soggy sandwich to her lips. Daniel had seen her around for months, always polite, always invisible to the people who enjoyed her work. But tonight, something about that sight pierced through him. Why was she out there? Why wasn't she inside where it was warm? He called the butler, but the answer made his stomach twist. "Sir," she said, "she's fine. She didn't want to disturb anyone's dinner." Daniel stood by the window longer than he should have. Her quiet dignity, her refusal to ask for comfort, hit him harder than the rain itself. A memory flickered, his mother years ago, working double shifts just to feed him. She used to eat standing by the stove, pretending she wasn't hungry. That night, Daniel made a decision. The next morning, everyone in the mansion would be talking about what he did next. The next morning, the house buzzed with routine, cleaners dusting chandeliers, cooks preparing breakfast, and the maid, Anna, quietly wiping the glass doors she had once eaten behind. But something was different. When she entered the dining room, her hands froze. The grand oak table, usually reserved for guests and family, was set for two. A vase of fresh lilies stood in the center, and across from it, Daniel sat waiting. "Good morning, Anna," he said with a smile. "Join me for breakfast." She blinked, unsure if she'd heard correctly. "Sir, I can't. I'm just a—" "You're a human being," Daniel interrupted gently. "And it's raining again. No one should eat alone in the rain." The room went silent. The other staff stared in disbelief. No one had ever sat with a maid before, especially not the owner himself. Anna hesitated, then slowly sat down. Her hands shook as she reached for her tea. Daniel spoke softly. "You remind me of my mother. She worked just like you, quiet, humble, unseen. People like you hold the world together." Tears welled up in Anna's eyes. For the first time, someone saw her, really saw her. From that day on, every rainy morning, Daniel made sure a second plate was set beside his. Not as charity, but as respect. And soon, the others followed his example. What began as one breakfast turned into something far greater, a house where no one was invisible anymore. But then, a letter arrived one morning, one that would change everything again. 3 weeks had passed since that breakfast in the rain. The mansion felt warmer now, not because of the heaters, but because kindness had found a place at the table. The staff smiled more. Even laughter echoed softly through the halls. But one morning, when Daniel came down for breakfast, Anna wasn't there. Her chair, the one by the window, sat empty. "Where's Anna?" he asked the butler. "She left this, sir." The butler handed him an envelope, worn, creased, with raindrops staining the paper. Daniel opened it carefully. Inside was a short, handwritten note. "Sir, thank you for your kindness. I never told anyone, but I used to work for your mother, years ago, before she passed. She helped me through my worst days, and I promised I'd someday return that kindness. I took this job not because I needed money, but because I wanted to serve someone who carried her heart. You reminded me of her more than you know." Daniel froze. His throat tightened. He hadn't known his mother ever had a maid named Anna. "My health isn't what it used to be, and I didn't want you to worry. Please remember what your mother taught both of us. Kindness always finds its way home." Tears blurred the ink as Daniel folded the letter. He looked out the window. It was raining again. He rushed outside, hoping to see her, but the street was empty, only the rain whispering her goodbye. Still, he stood there smiling. Because for the first time in years, he realized, kindness didn't need to be seen to be felt. Months passed, but Daniel never forgot Anna. Her letter stayed framed on his desk, a quiet reminder that kindness often comes from places we least expect. The mansion had changed since her departure. Daniel no longer sat at the head of the table. Instead, he joined his staff for every meal, laughing, listening, and treating them as equals. He opened a new foundation, the Anna Grace Fund, dedicated to supporting domestic workers, single mothers, and those who often went unseen. Every year, on the anniversary of that rainy night, he hosted a dinner under a glass canopy in the garden. The guests weren't millionaires or socialites. They were cleaners, drivers, cooks, and caretakers. Each one received a seat at the table, no uniforms, no titles, just people sharing food, stories, and laughter. That evening, as rain tapped softly against the glass, Daniel stood and raised his glass. To those who serve quietly. To those who never asked to be seen, but deserved to be honored. The crowd clapped. Some wiped away tears. Then he glanced toward an empty chair near the window, Anna's chair. For a moment he swore he saw her there again, smiling, proud, like his mother once did. The rain fell harder outside, but inside, everything glowed warm and golden. Because that night, and every night after, no one ate alone. And the world, in some small way, was better for it.